Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Oh, good. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Fighting too many fires that I don't fully comprehend, so otherwise okay. So I think the main question that I kind of had for you was, I'm failing to understand what architectural doors mean. Just for background, we bought a townhouse. It's a 4-story townhouse, and we are keeping 2 stories for ourselves, and 2 will be apartments that we will rent out. And we need all the interior doors. Some of them have to be fire rated, and others just the regular interior doors. And I'm looking at different providers for both. So I came across yours. They seem to be reasonably priced and reasonably good looking. But I just want to understand whether if I were to go with yours for the fire rated ones, if I can somehow make them appear relatively similar to whatever else I get for the residential doors, let's say.
Well, let's tackle the first question. What is an architectural door? So there are different grades of doors, and that has to do with the method of construction and the quality of the components used in the construction of the door. Suffice it to say, a door that's classified as architectural will carry an industry-defined level of compliance. It meets this criteria at a minimum. And there is a noticeable, sizable difference when it comes to comparing something that's considered not rated at all or residential grade to something that's architectural grade. The way that the internal core is assembled inside of the door, that core is bonded to the inside wood of the entire perimeter. There's higher tolerances when they're machining everything. The caliber of the veneer that's used is held to an A grade, whereas in residential stuff, there is no grading on the veneer. So in oak, you'll have pin knots, and there would not be any definition in terms of how wide the individual flitches of veneer when they sew or stitch them together. So things like that may or may not really matter to you in the end, because architectural caliber doors increase the cost of the project by an order of magnitude when it's all said and done. So when it comes to fire-rated doors, making them look like something else you'd pick, that could be a problem because a fire-rated door is tested and labeled the way in which it was built and confirmed by the testing laboratory as compliant. So if I sold you fire-rated doors, and they're going to be flush, they're just going to be flat, because I don't sell fire-rated doors that have panels. It's a residential thing that I don't get into. If you were to take those fire-rated doors and glue and nail applied molding to make it look like a 2-panel door, let's say, you are technically violating the integrity of that fire door because you're adding a fuel load and it wasn't tested that way.
Okay.
So
I understand.
Being long-term and you're thinking about what it's going to look like in the end is very appropriate to do now because you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak, by ordering doors that you can then not modify. Now, do people do it? Yeah, I see it all the time. But any person who knows about doors will know that if the manufacturer you bought it from didn't put that applied molding on and had it tested, you have a problem.
Okay, all right. Can you paint them or no?
Oh, you can definitely. You have to finish, I'm sure. Painting is understood.
Okay, all right. How about, because the only ones that I saw that were fire rated, they came under birch. And is it birch veneer or is it birch finish? Can I stain it? How does it look when it's, if it's kind of just stained rather than painted?
So, first of all, you can paint or stain any wood. When we talk about different species of wood, oak versus mahogany versus cherry, walnut, birch, maple, anything, and then 10 more, and then on top of that, 100 more that we could talk about. You can paint or stain any of the stuff. What happens in the architectural world is that you can define the way that the veneer is built and the quality of the veneer that's used. There's more than there are multiple grades of oak. There are 2 grades of birch. And this is actually very easy for the layman to understand. We've all peeled an apple. We've all put a knife on our hand and peeled the skin off an apple. We've also chopped an onion. Okay, we can think of chopping an onion. Now, both of those analogies apply to the way that the saw cuts the log. They chop the tree down, and then they take the log and they either peel it like an apple or they chop it like an onion. So birch is done either rotary or it's done plain sliced. And the way and how that knife cuts the log absolutely affects what the veneer will look like. So you can stain anything. You can stain a piece of particle board. You can, but it's the way the knife cuts the wood that will give you the look. When you go with architectural, you can specify select. So there's heartwood and sapwood. So the heartwood is the outer part of the log, and that's the clear part. The sapwood is the inner part of the log, and that's darker. So in birch, you're gonna, if you just have a residential door, you're for sure getting sapwood because that will give you the dark feature to it. In an architectural door, you'll say, you know what, I don't want to see any of the dark part of the log. So then you specify, I want select veneer, meaning anything that's dark, they don't use, whether that be maple or if that be birch. But if you're going to paint everything, it doesn't matter what it looks like. You want a good quality veneer, but you don't care what it looks like before you prime it.
Well, I mean, there is, generally speaking, it's true. I think there is a possibility, basically, in 2 places it might matter, because I might want to keep stained doors in our kind of entertainment floor. There's like 2 floors that we have. One is bedrooms and one is kitchen and living room and all of that area. And we were thinking of potentially keeping stained like the wood look on the doors for that particular floor, and an elevator door comes out, you can see it. So I think it might be better if it is the same color as everything else. And then also the other places where you get into the house, so it's like a brownstone. So you basically open an old sort of 1800s door, which is oak, and the apartment door will be right there. And you can see that door through the glass. So I think just painting it might be a little bit weird, because you also have this chair molding in the vestibule. So I don't know. I can't see it being painted. That is, those 2 doors. Those 2 doors are potentially problematic for me. The rest will be painted. So
my opinion is what you should do is decide on a style, a type of a look, panel, whatever it is, whatever design. If it's not flush, then you approach that manufacturer or their distributor and confirm that they can give you a fire-rated construction that matches. Oh, I'm here.
Sorry, I lost you. You said confirm, and then I lost you.
Yeah, you should. You want to confirm with that wood door manufacturer that they can give you the fire-rated requirement that you need to meet, whether it be 20 minute or 45 or 60 or 90. Piecing it from different suppliers is possibly problematic because the design will not match regardless, because the knives on the machinery that cut the wood are going to be different. The only role that I see that I'm playing other than perhaps advisor at this point is if you were to go with everything flat or flush. If you want a panel design, I'm just, I'm not the attorney, I'm the tax guy. The attorney does that stuff. I do the tax. You know what I mean? It's just wrong office. 2 doors down to the right, that kind of stuff.
Well, tax seems to be more complicated these days than law.
Ain't that the truth?
All right. Yeah, I think it's one of the considerations that we have to take into account as well, particularly because we are very, what's the word for it? We are very conscious of sound insulation and potentially, the door without any kind of without reducing the width of the doors, potentially better for that. So, okay, but my issue is that sometimes, for whatever reason, depending, of course, where you go, but all the pretty doors, they seem to be like $4,000 for, a simple fire-rated door, and it just seems to be completely insane pricing.
So tell me more about that 4,000 fire-rated door. What's unusual about it?
Well, it just seems to be quite expensive. That's all.
Other than that, what's unusual about it? Is it a design?
Is it a design? Yeah. I mean, we were looking at fairly simple design. I think at the most we either want 2-panel or maybe 4-panel.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I was going to tell you in this conversation, prepare for an obscenely expensive door for the fire rated if it's a panel design. Now, 4,000 sounds like it's way out of the ballpark, but that kind of door is 10 years ago was $2,000. So, and it's because of how it's constructed and what the cost of the material that is required to be used to build those doors. It's a lot of labor. It's a very expensive material. There's hardly any wood in the thing at all, other than just the veneer that you see, a little bit of wood on the edges. So you've bumped into that fire door being hyper expensive. You'll need to navigate around. You might be able to find it for less, but you are not going to find it for a lot less because those doors are hyper expensive.
Yeah. So then the option is to go with just a flat door, the slab door.
But then the problem becomes is everything either needs to be different or everything needs to be flat.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. All right.
Now, you can technically not apply like the doors in my house, they're all 3080 birch, 1 3/4. They've been primed and painted, and they have nice chair rail nailed to the door so they look like 2-panel. But none of my doors are fire rated. Now, if you were to put that on the door and there's no inspector, well, no one's going to call out the attention that you're in violation of established code. No one's going to say that to you.
Yeah.
But if you're doing work and there's a permit, there's going to be an inspector. Or if you have a loan, there's probably, a construction loan, there's probably going to be a permit. Now, having said all that, I'm not the code police. But know this.
I live in Jersey, so I have a lot of those already.
Yeah, so you can do whatever you want. You run the risk of being caught afoul. The actual reality, though, is nothing's to say the door would fail in a fire event. All that I can tell you is I don't know because it's never been tested. But I can tell you this. Doors that are in proper operating condition and are latched at the time of fire and they are in the condition in which they were tested originally, they are known, guaranteed to work effectively. Everyone below the impact in the Twin Towers in 9/11, about the 89th floor, every one of those fire doors was known to be closed and latched the way they were designed. Everyone survived below that floor of impact because those fire doors allowed them to get down. So anyway, there's two sides to the story. We do it the Chicago way. Come on, do it. And then we do it the way that, we have to do it because we're all professionals. So how you proceed is your business.
Yeah. No, I hear you and I appreciate it. And we are conscious. We don't want to do anything that will genuinely impact the safety. But then on the other hand, I think sometimes these things are just overblown. Like we have, it's a 3-apartment building that can maximum house 6 people, and we were made to put sprinklers and a fire pump, and we have like 4 aggressors for each apartment. I mean, it's just like completely overblown. If you want to look at any corrupt states, Jersey is the one for you. So it's just,
I'm from Chicago, and these guys, they'll compete.
Yeah. Right. So I hear you. I appreciate it, and as I say, we don't want to cut any corners, but sometimes you kind of also have to stop and think. Do you really? Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, and here's where I'm going. You could go to your inspector and say, "Listen, my man, I want to put in a flush 90-minute door, okay? Because it's $600 or whatever money it is, doesn't matter. And I want to take and nail some casing on it. will you approve that in writing? And here's why I think you should, because you guys made us put sprinklers everywhere. If the inspector approves it, you're good. You're good. Because that 2-panel design you like, or that 4-panel design, if you put chair rail or any shape of molding on the door, it's going to emulate the look pretty well. And well, that might be, you might say, yeah, I'm going to save $3,000. I'm going to do it this way. And if they approve it, good for me.
And do you have to put a nail through it, or can you just glue it, or is it the same?
Well, yeah. What we would do is it would be both. It would be mechanically flat fastened, and it would be glued. Glue only would be a long-term problem. It's going to come off. Moisture, humidity, up in the summer, down in the winter, over seasons, over cycles, over years. The glue is going to break. You got to have it nailed.
Okay. All right.
Screw and glue is what we would say.
Okay. And this is something that I would have to hire someone else to do, obviously.
Definitely. Your installer, your carpenter, that's a conversation you'd have with that person. And if they're a carpenter, meaning they make a living doing it, they will know exactly what you want and exactly how to do it.
Okay. All right. But then also somewhere, I can't remember if it was on your site or elsewhere, I was reading that if it's a composite core door, right?
Well, yeah, there are different cores that go into doors. Composite, we would call it a mineral core if it's a fire rating.
Mineral, sorry, yes, mineral. I read somewhere that you can't actually cut through anything, or that you can't do anything with the door. I think it was on your site. Basically, you're saying that you need to measure your door properly, because if you have to adjust it on site, I can't remember if it invalidates something or it's just not going to work. So if someone is putting the nail through the door, do you mean that it only kind of invalidates this whole inspection thing, or is it going to ruin something in the door?
Yes to the former. It would just invalidate the certification of it unless you had prior approval.
Okay.
You can't do things to fire-rated doors for 2 reasons. The code says you shall not, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are things that you can do to these doors in the field. You can trim them in the height a little bit. You can drill holes for cylinders so that they do not exceed 1 inch in diameter unless it's a cylinder. But you can't plane the door down. You can't cut it for the hinges and things of that nature, because the person in the field doing it isn't the person who has demonstrated proficiency on doing it on fire doors, where they are within a ecosystem of those companies that pay to be a part of that ecosystem that can then do the work to fire doors. So you need to order that fire door so that you have to do nothing to it in the field. You can drill a hole for a door viewer, but you can't cut it for hinges.
Okay. All right. So basically, if I were to order through you, I would tell you where the hinges should go, and all of this would. Okay.
Everything.
All right. And okay, fine. One other question. I think the 2 90-minute doors that we need are actually for the basement, and I think there is a danger of flood in this area. So I'm just wondering, if they sit in the water for 2 days, is it going to are they going to get warped, or will they survive this?
Are these exterior doors?
No, everything is interior. Everything.
Okay. So the door taking that sort of contact with water would utterly destroy the door.
Okay.
Permanently destroyed.
Okay, got you. Okay. All right. And then also a separate question. Do you only deal with doors? Because there are quite a few things on your site, which we might, as I said, we're redoing the whole house. So there might be some other items that we need. Is it something that we should consider just looking at your site? Are you specializing on doors only, or what are your other strengths?
So everything that goes with the door are things that we deal with. In a residential application, you're probably going to be looking for hardware from an Omnia or an Emtek or a Baldwin. We are not competitive in those markets, even though I am very fluent, especially in Baldwin. And it's because I'm unwilling to work on single-digit markups, like you can find the stuff online. But I have mill workers and I have lots of commercial clients that buy all that stuff from me because it's business. It's,
Yeah.
they're not going to the eBays and the Amazons of the world and trying to piece all this stuff together. They're hiring somebody to take ownership of supplying the material.
Okay.
But in a small residential project, find a design you like and find the best price. And just order early enough because these days are awful with lead times.
Yes, I know. I hear you. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, Richard, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your help and thank you for the explanations. And I'll let you know how we get on.
Best of luck, and let me know if I can help. I'm happy to take a phone call at any time.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.